for 75 euros, it shouldn't be missing that quality, but it is. Hi everyone, today I'm sharing my thoughts on the new Westman Atelier Supreme Biocomplex Liquid Foundation. This foundation cost me 75 euros, which is $69. I've been putting this to the test as thoroughly as possible, and today I'm going to tell you whether I think it's actually worth your money. So if that sounds like something that you might be interested in, then please do keep on watching. So as usual, no first impressions at all. I've been testing this foundation thoroughly, and I've got loads of wear test footage to show you towards the end of the video. So I've already done my eye makeup a little bit, and I've only prepped my skin with my usual serum and moisturizer. So this new foundation from Westman Atelier is a lightweight serum-like foundation designed to even skin tone, blur pores and texture, and give a natural hydrated second skin finish. It is silicone free and contains a peptide rich biocomplex aimed at improving the look of skin over time. So again, this was 75 euros or $69, and for that you get the usual 30ml 1 fluid ounce of product. So I picked this up in the shade L2, and I will have to say it is an absolutely perfect shade match. I'm so proud of myself. I don't usually get it this right. I do have to say that I was a little bit disappointed that there were no olive shades within the whole range, which is disappointing for me as an olive. I'm just lucky that because I'm a neutral, I can get away with L2. But yeah, it's disappointing. I mean, for the price, there should be olive shades there. So in order to try and help you choose your right shade, I'm going to show you a few swatch comparisons with some of my other foundation shades now. At the top, we've got the new Westman Atelier foundation in L2. Next one down, we have the House Labs Triclone Skin Tech foundation in 210. Next, we have the Dior Forever Skin Glow foundation in 2.5N. Next, we have the Natasha Denona foundation, the High Glam in N6. Next, we've got the new Makeup Forever foundation, the Skin Perfecting in the shade 214N. And lastly, we have the newly reformulated Armani Luminous Silk in 5.3, which is an actual olive shade. So that's just with the lights down a little bit, and I will make sure that I pop the names on the screen for you as well. So just very quickly on the ingredients, this contains peptides, hyaluronic acid and niacinamide, and it is fragrance-free, it's essential oil-free, and it is also silicone-free. However, there's been a lot of chat online about one specific ingredient, and that is coconut alkanes. I think a lot of people have been focusing on the coconut alkanes because coconut oil in foundation products, in complexion products, no matter what it is, skincare, can be pore clogging. So people are looking at coconut alkanes and assuming that that is going to be pore clogging. And I know that some people do feel and believe that they are. However, I tried to do a little bit of research on this, and I found myself on the Paula's Choice website, and they have a full page dedicated towards explaining whether coconut alkanes are in fact pore clogging, and I'm just going to summarize what they say. So basically what they say about coconut alkanes is that they are coconut derived, but they are not a coconut oil, and so there's no good evidence that the ingredient itself is inherently pore clogging. Now, I'm not an expert, never claimed to be, but I did just want to mention just that little bit of research that I did. Obviously, if you have sensitive skin, if you are particularly prone to acne, if you have trouble with pore clogging ingredients, then you might want to skip this. But I just wanted to read out what Paula's Choice, for example, says about it. And I did, wherever I landed online, it said that it wasn't a pore clogging ingredient. But again, I don't know what I'm talking about. All right, let's dive in and pop this on then. So I did want to mention that I do love the shape of this bottle. It's very sleek. It's a glass bottle, which means I probably will smash it at some point in my life. Yeah, I do have a habit of doing that for some reason. That's one pump. The pumps are tiny. They're teeny weeny. It really reminds me of the NARS Light Reflecting pumps. Like, they're so small. So one pump is not going to cover your whole face, but I will definitely stress that you don't need a lot of this to cover your whole face. So I'm going to pop this just on one side. I've got no concealer on, as you can see. I will add concealer afterwards. I won't be popping this under my eyes. So we're just going to use one pump to start with, and I'm going to pop it on with my Mario F4 brush. So the way that I've been doing it is kind of just dotting it around my face first and then just blending it out that way. So this definitely claims to be a natural foundation. And I do find, you see that just blended out really, really lovely, didn't it? I do find that this when it goes on first, it's definitely more glowy than anything else. And I was a little bit confused by that when I first popped it on because it just looked so glowy. But it definitely dries down. It kind of dries to a bit of a satin finish. I don't think it's a soft matte. I don't think it's a true natural finish. And I don't think it really looks like skin, like people are saying. But it's nice. Although I really like the look of this foundation on the skin. Can you look at my face and tell me one thing you are noticing that this is not doing? It doesn't blur at all. I can still see my pores, and I cannot tell you how disappointed I was to find out that there was no blurring in this foundation, especially when, number one, it claims, and it's actually within the first line of the claims, that this is going to be a blurring foundation. And number two, it cost me €75. Look, I know it sounds like I'm kicking off by being really negative about this, and I just want to make it clear that I'm really not trying to be negative, but it's my job to tell you whether you should spend your hard-earned money on a liquid foundation, and that is a lot of money. I don't mind spending my own money telling you whether it's worth it. If I can save you money, I will. I like the look of the foundation on my skin, all right? I think it makes my skin look really healthy and polished. So it's obviously not a dewy finish or anything like that, but when it dries down to that kind of satin finish, it makes my skin, can you see the sheen that it gives my skin? It's very unique in that sense. So I know that you're just going to be thinking, well, that's just luminosity, it's just radiance, and it is. And there's plenty of foundations that I have that give me that. But this is different. And this is where I really like this foundation. I'm just going to build it up, show you how much I can build this up. I wouldn't build it up too much because it can get heavy. I know that everybody's saying this is a really lightweight foundation, and it is a lightweight foundation, but it can get heavy really quickly. And if I build it up too much, it sits into my smile lines, this one here. Yeah, so I've never really had a foundation give me such a beautiful sheen just across the skin, and I find it to be very light reflecting, and I really love that about it. I don't know how many of you have Lisa Eldridge's skin tint. It has a very similar finish to that. You know how that just gives this light reflecting glow to the skin. It's like somebody has come and polished my skin, and that remains all day. And in terms of the coverage, I'm going to say that this gives a high medium coverage for sure. And in fact, I think you can easily build this up to a full coverage. So if you were to just take a look at my skin now, it looks perfectly healthy. It looks very radiant without being greasy and without being heavy. And, you know, it does feel very lightweight and very comfortable on the skin. But for me, the most standout feature of this foundation is a negative one, and it's the fact that I don't get any blurring with this. So before I complete the rest of my makeup, I did just want to just compare it to a couple of other foundations that I think it's very similar to. The Natasha Denona High Glam foundation. This is really nice as well, but it gives me zero blurring. So it's very similar in that sense. It's a little bit more smoothing than the Natasha Denona, so it's a step up from that. However, it has very similar characteristics to the Dior Forever Skin Glow. But the Dior Forever Skin Glow gives me so much blurring, and it's very smooth, gives the same amount of coverage. If you have the Dior already and you get the Westman Atelier, I think you're going to be disappointed. So look, I do want to talk to you about the longevity and all those kind of things very briefly, but let me just go and finish off the rest of my makeup, and then I'll take you through the pros and cons of the foundation, and I'll show you some daylight and wear test footage as well. Okay, so now that the makeup is complete, I want to take you through some wear test footage that I've taken over the last few days, and we'll go through the pros and cons of the foundation. So I haven't got any powder on my face, by the way, today at all. I prefer to do my wear tests with no powder, I guess because I have dry skin and just because it allows us to see the foundation on its own. So look, let me tell you what I really like about this foundation. And there are lots of things that I like about it. The first one is I love the light reflecting quality of it, which I wasn't expecting. So for me, it's not just a natural looking luminosity. There's like a veil of, I don't know, this beautiful sheen that comes across the face. And as I keep saying, and I don't know where I've got this from, but it literally looks like someone's come and polished my skin. And it doesn't look dewy or greasy. It just looks really, really beautiful. So I really appreciate that about it. And the other major positive for me is how well this performs. So I have no issues with it fading, with it transferring onto all of my clothes. I have worn this in hot weather. I've worn it in the rain. So I will show you footage and I'll make sure I title it. I wore this while walking in the rain, but while stood at the side of a football pitch. And, you know, although it didn't look as pristine as it did, it still lasted and it was still there at the end of the day. So I get really good wear out of this. I really do. And I really like the shade match that I have. I think it's one of the best shade matches I've ever had. Okay, that's a real positive. I do think that in my experience in my wear testing that this probably would be suitable for all skin types. I can't imagine that any skin type would really have an issue with this because although I don't agree that it's a natural finish on the skin, I feel like it would be suitable for the majority of skin types. So dry skin, I don't think it would dry you out. Combo oily skin, I don't think it would slip off your face. I do think that you need to adjust it. So using powder, for example, but I think it could work for everyone. Now, I just want to take you through the negatives of this. And unfortunately, we have to hold this foundation to a higher accountability because of the price of it. You know, it's all well and good as saying, well, it's luxury. Yes, it is a luxury foundation. So you expect to pay a higher price. But that automatically means that my expectations are higher. So for €75, you should be giving me blurred and beautiful skin. You've given me 50% of that. You've given me the beautiful skin, but what you've not given me is the blurring. So in order to get blurring and smoothing of my pore area, I will now have to use a powder. I don't like doing that. And I shouldn't have to do that either. This should be giving me supreme blurring around my pores and it just doesn't do that for me personally. And the other negative I want to say is that everyone's banging on and saying this is a natural foundation. I disagree. I disagree that it's natural looking because I think it looks a little heavy in certain areas. It looks a little makeup-y. So, you know, around my smile lines, it doesn't look particularly natural in my experience. I'm going to say that this is a heavier version of the House Labs. So the House Labs I don't find particularly blurring either, but I love it. This is my holy grail foundation. It's so lightweight and so beautiful. I still prefer the House Labs, even though it's not, you know, super blurring, but it's more blurring than the Westman Atelier. The Dior, also expensive, also luxury, will blur you to within an inch of your life. Very similar to the Natasha Denona foundation. It's very similar. It's a heavier version and a slightly more smoothing version than the Natasha Denona. I guess to summarize, I really like this foundation. It will be a foundation that I'll use maybe when I'm going out somewhere. It's too heavy for everyday use for me, but I will use it if I'm going out somewhere. But I have to powder it because I don't get the blurring that I should be getting. For €75, it shouldn't be missing that quality, but it is. So please do let me know, have you tried this foundation? Are you planning on picking it up? If you have picked it up already, let us know your experience with it. If you agree with me, let me know. If you disagree with me, let me know, but don't be too mean. Thank you so much for joining me for this video. I so appreciate you being here with me. I'm really looking forward to seeing you in the next video, but until then, take care and bye for now.